Hey lads, Dragon here. Welcome to a new series that I would like to call Obscure Art Sometimes is Spectacular, or O.A.S.I.S for short. Why did I call it that? Well, it just sounded cool when I shortened it down to O.A.S.I.S. Whatever. It's better than OCA. I wanted a cool acronym. I think the title says it all. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of weird, obscure pieces of art that not many people have heard about, even to the people who actually know the genre or medium very well. And I think a good example of this is, for our first episode, one of my favorite albums of all time, Pendragon's The Window of Life. Now, to me, Pendragon is a pretty good band, I'd say. I would definitely say that some of their earlier works aren't exactly the best. You know, Jewel and Cow Pow, I think that's the album's name. They aren't exactly well written. They're instrumentally or lyrically successful, per se. But I do think that it was Window of Life that was their first success. To me, Window of Life was their fly-by-night, or their Atom Heart Mother for success, as in, it marked a period that most fans would consider to be the best era when it comes to the band. And I personally agree. I think that Window of Life, The Masquerade Overture, and Not of This World are three fantastic albums that I think should gain more love, which is probably one of the main reasons why I started this series in the first place. Honestly, one of their down points is when it comes to their lyrics. They're not exactly the best, per se. They're fairly basic. I will say definitely that they are better than a generic rock group when it comes to their lyrics. Like, yeah, sure, they're good, but I do know that there are a bunch of bands that are much, much better when it comes to lyrics. Now that I think about it, most of the stuff about this album is just... it's good, I guess. It's not great, it's not fantastic, it's just good. A solid 8 out of 10, I would say, when it comes to their lyrics, their singing, the instrumentals, the overall production. It's just good. And I guess, in a weird way, all of that comes together to make a very solid and enjoyable album. Definitely, I would say probably the landmark of this album would be The Last Man on Earth. The lyrics are good. The instrumentals, I would say, are the best the album has to offer. That and The Walls of Babylon are both fairly impressive instrumentally wise. And I would say that the singing is actually pretty good. In a weird way, the singer, Nick Barrett, actually kind of reminds me of John Anderson from the early years of Yes. And John Anderson is one of my favorite singers of all time, so of course I'm going to gravitate towards Nick Barrett's higher-pitched voice, I guess, to put it best. Another thing that I would actually really like to mention is the drummer, Fudge Smith. He's phenomenal, and I do think that he does get better when it comes to other songs that are outside of The Window of Life. Probably one of the best examples would be the song Master of Illusion from the album that followed Window of Life, The Masquerade Overture. But even though that I do know that he can do better, the drumming is still solid on this album. The drumming is very catchy, it's very fast-paced, and overall, I'd actually say that Fudge Smith is probably one of my favorite drummers. However, this guitarist, Peter Gee, isn't exactly the best. That's one of my main flaws with the album. The bass guitar isn't exactly that good. It's not impressive on a technical standpoint, and it isn't even that fun to listen to. It's just kind of basic, per se. And honestly, I will say that even though that's a bit more of a nitpick, I do think that it does drag the album's overall quality down a bit. Like, another thing is that the singer, Nick Barrett, is also the guitar player, and although I do think that he is very good at playing guitar and singing, at the same time, it's not exactly the best. I think he's very similar to Geddy Lee or Greg Lake in a sense, where their bass guitar and their singing at the same time isn't exactly the best per se. When they do end up playing without their singing, they can be some of the most technically surprising songs that they've ever written, and are definitely leagues above them playing and singing at the same time. And of course, the same thing goes with Nick Barrett. His guitar is good, but him singing and playing guitar, there's a very large downgrade in quality per se. And finally, the synth it's good. I wouldn't say that it's great like the drumming or the guitar when Nick Barrett isn't singing, but I will say that it is far better than the bass guitar. It's fathomable. It's not technically impressive, but it does do the band well, and it's just solid. It's not bad, but it's not fantastic, I guess, to put it best. But yeah, overall, all of the pluses just all come together very well and just makes a very solid and great album. And I think that this is one of prog rock's best albums ever released. It's definitely not on the leagues of, say, In the Court of Crimson King or Close to the Edge, but I do think that it should be respected nonetheless. Anyways, my name is Dragon, and tell me how this series is. Do you guys like it or not? Anyways, see ya.